Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a dynamic effort lower workout. So for this 3-week wave, my lower dynamic variation is standard deadlifts, obviously with band tension. And this is the second week in the 3-week wave. So I have 80% of my 1 rep max in total. That's bar weight plus band tension for 3 sets of 5. So these moved okay, a bit slower than last week, which is to be expected because it's a bit heavier. But the idea with dynamic effort is you try and maintain bar speed. So it actually looks so much slower than it felt. It felt like I was snapping all the way to lockout. But watching it back, it does look quite a lot slower. And I think I was pulling a bit too far. I was like over exaggerating the lockout and leaning backwards. And that's because I normally have lockout weaknesses. So I'm trying to work on snapping all the way up to lockout. But the reason I'm leaning forward after that last set is I slightly twinged my back, like overextending. It wasn't anything major. It was fine after about like 10 minutes and I've had no problems in the days to come. But I'm probably not going to force that overextension at the top of my deadlifts again, just because it is not a good idea. But other than that, the dynamic effort went pretty well. Then moving on to the first accessory, I had belt squats. I did these at the heaviest I ever have done at 300 kilos. Last week I did them at 250 kilos, which again was the heaviest I'd ever gone. I'd only gone to 200 kilos before that. And I think I got 2 sets of 8 this week, which is similar to what I got with 250 kilos. Now, I moved my stance slightly further forward and it made this feel like so much better. I felt way stronger. It maybe isolated the quads a little less, but I didn't feel like I was falling forward too much. I was holding on, as you can see with my hands, to a rack support, a safety spotter arm, just to stop myself from falling over. But all of the power was being generated by my legs and it felt insane. My quads have had huge DOMs, and whilst it hasn't like isolated the quads as much, like I said, it's felt way more like a normal squat. It's involved more of the glutes and hamstrings. It is a general leg pushing accessory, a great alternative to a leg press for me, because obviously I don't have a leg press machine in my gym and I can't fit one in. So I was very happy with that. If anything, it is more similar to a squat than a leg press is. So I'm hoping to just get ridiculously strong at those belt squats, and that should help blow up my squat. But also transfer into deadlifts. Great leg drive on deadlifts is a huge benefit as well, particularly for strength off the floor. So moving on to the next accessory here, I had hamstring curls. So I did 70 pounds for 2 sets of 18 here. So I've been smashing loads of hamstring curl PRs week after week. My old PR at 80 pounds was 8 reps. And then last week I got sets of 12 at 80 pounds. So this meant that this week when I did 70 pounds, I was like, wow, I need to get more than 12 reps. I'm going to try and get in the range of 15 to 18. But to be honest, I don't think I've even got sets of 12 at 70 pounds before. So because I keep getting stronger, like I pushed myself, I think I got a set of 18 on each leg on the first set and just a set of 16 on the second set, which is still in my goal range of like 15 to 18 reps. But the hamstrings were burnt out a little for the second sets. These felt good. And yeah, as I was saying, like my hamstrings are getting way stronger. So when you have an accessory that is continually progressing, what I like to do is I have records at different weight. Like I was saying, I knew that I'd only got 8 reps at 80 pounds before, and then I got 12 last week. I have different rep PRs for each weight, and then I just fluctuate between the weights. And then obviously at 70 pounds here, I had to beat my rep goal at 80 pounds. That is how I like to progressively overload. And when you are making loads of progress, like I am on these hamstring curls, just keep it within your cycle. Keep doing it. If something's working, keep doing it. The only reason you'd take it out is if it didn't transfer at all over to, for me, powerlifting, the squat, bench, and deadlift, then there's no reason for it. Obviously, if you're doing something like bodybuilding, it's building up the hamstrings, definitely keep it in. But one of the core principles of the conjugate system, which I'm using, is as soon as something isn't working as much, you just rotate it out for a different accessory. But that doesn't mean that you have to rotate things out when they are working. Keep things going whilst they are effective. So that's why I'm keeping those hamstring curls in the mix. Then moving on to calf raises here, I was doing the heaviest calf raises I've ever done because I just kept the weight on the belt squat from the belt squats earlier. These felt good. I got 2 sets of 8, which this is definitely, it felt the heaviest the calves have ever gone. It felt really weird. Like I almost couldn't tell whether I was properly calf raising. I just knew it was like heavy. It just felt really heavy, and it's not like with lighter weights, you can feel the range of motion a lot. You can feel, if you use an elevated block, which I often do with lighter weights, you feel a big stretch on the calf, and then as you get to the top, you feel a huge contraction. That was just like, it was heavy standing with it. So it was heavy like 1 inch off the ground, and then it was heavy all the way rised up on those calf raises. So it was actually quite hard to tell whether I was getting a good range of motion or not. I knew it was depleting for the last couple of reps, and that's why I left it at sets of 8. But doing really heavy calf raises, always beneficial. Another principle of the conjugate system is varying different weights and rep ranges. So going really heavy on those calf raises there, fantastic. But I've also gone light on calf raises before. I mean, I've done sets of like 100 on this channel before, which is not typical, but that was on the seated calf raises. But I often do sets of like 15 to 20 as well. So I think you should vary up your rep ranges, and then you get the benefit of all rep ranges in your training. People often argue what the most effective range is. Just do them all, and then you get the benefit of them all. So then the next accessory here was hip adductions. I did these roller hip adductions. So previously, a couple of weeks ago, the best I'd ever got on these hip adductions, going all the way down as deep as I could, was like sets of 4 or 5. Last week I got sets of 7, and here I think I got a set of 8 on each side right at the end there on that second set. That was brutal. Like, it looks like I'm just sort of slowly bringing the weight back and like controlling it in. I was trying to like fire my legs together as hard as possible, and like even as I was approaching standing, which is normally the easier portion of the range of motion, obviously when you're deep in like the splits, that is the hardest part, but I literally felt like I was trying to squeeze my legs together as fast as possible, and I was just moving so slowly. So that's how I knew that was the last rep. Like, I don't think I'd have even been able to do a proper eccentric on the next set. So I also have quite a lot of muscle soreness and DOMs from those hip adductions following days. I always find that because it does isolate them so well, and I love doing that roller variation. It's a great substitute for a machine for me because, again, I don't have the machine in my gym. So final accessory here, reverse hypers. As always, I've talked through this a bit multiple times, but I don't progress this like a normal accessory. This is more just for GPP and restoration of the posterior chain, my lower back. Like I said, I strained it a little bit, so it felt fantastic on these hypers, which was great. My glutes, my hamstrings, my upper back, all of that, just doing 2 sets of 15 at 150 kilos. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of that good stuff, and I hope you have a great day.